Good morning, everyone watching live on BAM YouTube. Let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from. The Hot Sheet covers what you need to know about the real estate industry in a 24-hour time period. On today's Hot Sheet, I will discuss how many homeowners have mortgage rates under 6%, what buyers actually want, and the 2023 short-term rental outlook. Today is Friday, June 16th, 2023. I am Byron Lazine, and the Hot Sheet starts now. Well, before we start, I got to acknowledge this comment I see from Dawn. Morning after storms in her county in Texas, no power, trees down everywhere. You can pop that up, Bobby or Cooper. It was a long night. Uh, give us some great real estate news. Dawn, first, you're a trooper jumping onto the hot sheet with no power and everything going on. I hope you're all right and everybody in your community is all right. Some of these storms can get a little bit crazy. So, thoughts with you, Dawn. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up and consider sharing the show here today with someone who wants a 24-hour look back on the real estate industry, on housing. It's the only housing show that goes live every single day on the internet when the markets are open, which means that Monday, in an observation of Juneteenth, the markets will be closed and the hot sheet will also not be up. So Tuesday will be when we are back. But let's jump right into first topic. And we're back to more mortgage rate discussion. Staying put, 92% of homeowners with a mortgage are locked into rates under 6%. Okay, we've talked about this, that 98%, in fact, have a mortgage rate currently under market, which is hovering around 7. A new report from Redfin shows more than 9 in 10 U.S. homeowners with mortgages locked into rates below 6%. 80% are below 5%, and about a quarter are below 3%. Okay, so 1 out of 4 mortgages is the number below 3%. To me, that's good news. Okay, if I'm a real estate agent and I'm thinking everybody's under 3, no, 1 out of 4 are below 3, which actually is like a little odd because you had such homeowners. You guys had such a long opportunity there to lock in under 3. Not sure why more people aren't at 3 or below. I'm assuming some are just like hovering in the low 3, which would bump that number up. But to me, only 1 out of 4 being under 3 means that as we move down closer to 5%, which we talked about this on yesterday's stream, there are hundreds of billions of dollars investors betting that the 10-year is going to come down over the course of the next 18 months, which we know is going to pull the 30-year down closer to 5%. That spread between the 10-year and the 30-year alone, if was acting normally, would mean we'd be closer to a 5% mortgage. There's a lot of big bets on this, and over time, we'll get closer to 5. The closer we get to 5%, means you're going to unlock a lot of inventory in that 3 to 5% mortgage holder who does want to move but's been waiting for the opportunity. Homeowners locked into these lower rates and staying put are a primary reason for the dire shortage of new listings, severely limiting options for buyers. This is all on nowbam.com. We'll link it down below in our daily download. Sellers are also staying put because a record 60% of them have lived in their current home for 4 years or less. We know the average homeowner moves 10 to 12 years. Okay, so they haven't been in their home a long time. All right, so let's take a look at some of the charts that'll also be down below in the daily download, which today is the last day of the daily download link, by the way, because next week on Tuesday, all of our daily downloads are going to be on BAMX. So it's a good time to jump below, get into BAMX. If you love this content, go over to BAMX, help support what we're doing at BAM. We had a BAMXer say, hey, can we just categorize everything instead of emailed every single day on the daily download into one place on BAMX? And so we've been working on that, and that starts up on Tuesday. So you'll have one place to go to the daily download. There's a BAMX link down below. I promise you that annual subscription will be the lowest price you see ever. All right, more than 9 in 10 mortgage holders have a rate below 6%. So this is a great chart to show someone who's wondering why there's just not a lot of transactions happening, right? This right here is the reason why. Okay, you've got again 92% of mortgage holders below 6%. 1 out of 4 are below 3%. Okay, so 1 out of 4 below 3%. That's the most we've seen. This chart goes back to 2013, and it's by a lot. You didn't really have anybody from 2013 to 2020 that was sitting below 3%. 3 to 4%, now you start talking, so 4% and under, you've got over 50% of mortgages, okay? 5% and under, we're talking about 3 out of 4 mortgages. That's why, to me, that golden number of unlocking inventory of people who want to sell but are a buyer on the other side is 5%. If the relationship between the 10-year and the 30-year was normal, we'd be closer to 5% today. Go find the George Ratu when we had George Ratu on Knowledge Brokers podcast. It was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. Go re-listen to that. He explains the relationship beautifully between the 10 and the 30 year and how we are abnormally spread out a whole point and a half there on that relationship. A record 3 in 5 mortgage holders moved within the past 4 years. So, this is interesting because we know that people move every 10 to 12 years. So if 3 out of 5 mortgage holders, which isn't every homeowner, 42% of homeowners own their house cash. But if we look at the 50%, 58% that are mortgage holders, 3 out of 5 of those moved within the past 4 years. So take the mortgage rate out of the question, just based off of the fact that they recently moved, and moving is hard and moving is painful and people don't do it every year. 7 years is like on the low end, but 10 to 12 years right now is more common. Those mortgage holders alone aren't going to likely move in the near future. Okay, so 1 to 4 years is over 50% right now. 5 to 7 years makes up maybe 20, maybe 15 to 20% there, probably 15%, just looking at this chart. 8 to 10 years and 11 plus years is 1 out of 4. Basically, 8 years and up is 1 out of 4 mortgage holders. But I would say, if you've got data inside your MLS, if you're using, something like a prop stream, which is a piece of technology that I'm familiar with and I've used, if you're using something like that, you can sift through, as a real estate agent, those 8 years and up. You can pick the years. How long have they owned their home, and start finding those 1 out of 4 mortgage holders, mortgage holders who have lived in their home 1 out of 4. It's 1 out of 4 mortgage holders who have been there 8 to 10 years or 8 years and up. You can find those people by using some of those resources. Your MLS may even have something if you're a real estate agent. Okay, so that's an interesting stat. 92% again are locked into a rate under 6%. 82.4% have rates below 5%, 62% have rates below 4, and 23.5% have rates below 3%. That's actually, it's down from the record high of 24.6 reached in Q1 of 2022. It's actually not as high as I think everybody believes. Okay, so that's a good sign for as these rates over time do come down. Now, economists are saying that the 30-year fix is going to move sideways for a couple of months. So we're not seeing 5% from what it sounds like in the next 30, 60 days. But over time, 12, 18 months, we should get much closer to 5%. There were projections that we'd end the year in the fives, which would be fantastic if that were the case. Okay. So even with homeowners locked into lower rates, they've got options to reduce their costs. Even if they need to move or decide to sell soon rather than later. So as an agent, having just those daily conversations with multiple mortgage lenders, you should have some idea what those options are for those folks. Okay. I'm a big advocate of, obviously you want to call your past clients, you want to call your database, you want to follow up on people, but you want to be talking to mortgage lenders, and mortgage lenders on the other side. You should be actively talking to 10, 15 agents per day, not just about your deals, but just on an education basis on what's happening in the market. These conversations are ultra important right now. You'll unlock insights like, what do buyers actually want? Insights from Curbio highlight a buyer seller disconnect right now in the market. And this is on nowbam.com. We'll link this down below in the daily download as well. Curbio Inc. released its Preparing to Sell 2022 home improvement report, revealing a disconnect between what buyers want and what sellers are willing to do. Of course, it's a seller's market. They've got control when you're talking about 2.5% inventory. Love to know months of inventory in your market if you want to drop that into the live chat. But nationwide, we're 2.5, 2.7, I believe, right now, months of inventory. It's in a seller's market. So sellers can be picky on what they're willing to do. Almost half, 43% of sellers don't think it's necessary to make repairs before selling, while 77% of buyers indicate they won't consider homes that aren't move-in ready. So is it a good idea in the live chat or in the replay chat? Is it a good idea for sellers going into a changing dynamic for them a little bit from what they've experienced the last couple of years to not make repairs before selling? Should they just go on the market completely as is? Is that smart for sellers to do? Okay, so this is what buyers want, and this is what buyers are saying they want when they're looking at homes. There's three findings in particular. 67% of potential buyers focus solely on homes with updated features and layouts. Does that feel right to you working with buyers? That 67% only focus on homes with updated features and layouts. 68% of them say their biggest deal breaker is a home in disrepair with visible wear and tear. Okay, 77% of buyers won't even consider a home that is not move-in ready. That speaks to me to the type of buyer that's out there today. It is the starter, initial first-time home buyer, the starter home buyer, and then on the other end, the biggest buyer demographic is the baby boomer. A baby boomer doesn't want to wait 2 years for a move-in ready home. They've got martinis to drink. They've got pickleball to play. They want to be relaxing. They want to get into that home. They want it when they want it. And so to me, that number makes sense. 77% won't consider a home that is not move-in ready. Here are the projects with the biggest seller return. So if a seller does say, okay, I want to meet buyer expectations where they're at, a kitchen refresh, according to Curbio, would increase 377%. Refinishing hardwood floors is a 348% ROI. Basic listing prep, minor fixes, interior electrical updates, a change of an electrical, lighting can go a long way. That's a 297% ROI. New roof, 288% ROI. I would disagree with that. Let me know if you disagree with Curbio on new roof increasing ROI, 288%. I don't know about that. New carpeting, 280%. I don't know about that one either, Curbio. The other ones I've got you. I've got you on those. I think a bathroom goes a longer way in most markets across America. I think a bathroom is the best money you can spend as a seller who's going to be making some repairs. So, yeah, I mean, the kitchen refresh, hardwood floors, basic listing prep. I got you there, Curbio. The new roof, new carpeting. I don't got you. Let me know your thoughts here on Curbio's top 5 home improvement projects ranked by their ROI. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it. I don't think you're going to get 280% on your new carpeting money at all. All right, a homeowner spending 15,000 on a kitchen refresh can expect buyers to pay on average an extra 71,550, resulting in a seller profit of 56,550. To me, this is market dependent. It's also the work. $15,000 on a kitchen refresh. Who's doing the work? Is the homeowner doing the work? $15,000 doesn't go a long way on a kitchen refresh. Not today. So I mean, you could spend $15,000 on labor. Okay. You could spend $15,000 easily on labor. So what's the kitchen refresh? And like 15,000 on labor, just doing little things in the kitchen. I don't know that gets you 71,000. Listen, I think you can get a real significant, I've seen it happen a bunch, a significant pop on what they mentioned here, the basic listing prep, minor fixes, interior electrical updates. But to me, basic listing prep would include decluttering and the staging and the refreshing with paint. That stuff can go a really long way. And sometimes I would say is your biggest bang for your buck. But the chief marketing officer, Curbio, says sellers often have the misconception that putting in work into the home means they need to fully renovate their homes before listing, but simple refreshes in your kitchen or to your floors actually have much higher returns and take a lot less work. In a competitive housing market, it's important for agents and sellers to work to attract potential buyers and make a home stand out. We created this new report as a tool for realtors and their clients to make smart, savvy choices when getting a home ready to sell. Look, this is fun, and thank you, Curbio, for putting out the data. What I think real estate professionals and agents in their communities need to help educate and help sellers understand is that there's a limited amount of contractors in every market right now. And contractors have certainly rode the wave as builders have of this inflation wave. And they've, you know, continued to use the materials are hard to get story. And some materials are still hard to get, but it's not anywhere near the fever pitch moment of the last couple of years. They're hard to get, but they're not impossible to get, and it's certainly not taking as long of a time. In fact, Home Depot's projections are that they're going to sell less home improvement items over the next coming months. We've talked about that on a past stream. And so contractors are coming in. If you want to do some of these things to prep your home for sale, they're coming in right now and gouging. They're gouging in a big way across the board. All of their prices have gone up on labor. You really better check their materials because they'll gouge that. Typically, a contractor might make 15%. They're trying to bang you out for 30, 35, 40% a lot of times right now because they're getting the yes. They're getting the yes. So if you overpay for the project, and you overpay for the materials, you may not get all this ROI. So without the right connections, and if you don't possess the right connections as the real estate agent, where they're going to give that honest price, not the gouging price, they may do good work, but they may not actually get the good number to get the ROI, if you know what I'm saying. So it's really up to you to understand those dynamics in your market when you're advising a client. And also when you want something fast, there's a great Brad Lee quote, and somebody else might have said this, but this is a great closing line. Hey, you can have two of the three. Okay. And so when you're talking about home improvement, this is certainly going to fit into this bucket. You can have two of these three. You can have it done good. You can have it done cheap, or you can have it done fast. Which two of the three do you want? Well, I got to sell my house, so I want it fast and I want it good. Well, then it's not going to be cheap. Okay. If you want it fast and you want it good, it's not going to be cheap. And if it's not going to be cheap, you're going to cut into your ROI here that you're expecting to get back on your sale. Well, no, no, no. I want it cheap and I want it fast. Well, then it's not going to be good. And you're not going to get your ROI if it's not good, because sellers or buyers are going to walk in and be like, well, that's crap. Who the heck did that? Oh, well, no, no, no. I want it good then. And I want it good and cheap. Well, then it's not going to be fast. And we'll be listing your home in a month and a half or 2 months or 3 months. I mean, that is the way it goes with contractors. You're never going to get fast, good, and cheap when it comes to contractors. And so to me, that's a formula that Curbio's not taking into account. I think it's the fast part of this. In a perfect world, you got 2-3 months, you got 4 months to get ready. The best time to do that is, by the way, December, January, February, so you can go on the market for the spring. But who wants to be in a renovation in their home in holiday season in January? Winter people don't want to do that, right? And so they start doing renovations in the spring, and then they kind of miss that mark. It happens every single year. Love to know your thoughts on that. Let's go over to a 2023 short-term rental mid-year outlook. This is from Air DNA. Love this report. I'm actually going to dig into this report a little bit next week because it's so robust. I'm just going to give you a quick highlight here. We didn't touch on this report, but we touched on this conversation on Airbnbs, and that there could be some inventory being unlocked in Airbnbs. We talked about this on Knowledge Brokers podcast today. So if you, I agree, Rebecca, start the remodel repair as soon as you consider selling. The problem with that is If you're like, "Hey, I'm considering selling, I wanna maybe sell in 2 months," you may be pushing that time frame out depending on the project, but I agree with you. The minute somebody considers selling and they've got stuff to do, you should just focus on knocking that out. That's just good home maintenance and home ownership, right? All right. So going back to the homeowners now that own these Airbnbs, we talked about this on At Knowledge Brokers podcast. There's a new one coming out at 2 p.m. Go over, subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss today's episode, by the way. And I thought Lisa Chinati had incredible insights about the Airbnb owner. I think some people got ahead of their skis on this Airbnb thing. All right. But let's take a look at what Air DNA's chart is. Economists and media outlets across the globe have been beating the same drum for months now. 2023 has been and will continue to be a year of economics uncertainty. It doesn't necessarily mean doom and gloom, particularly for the short-term rental industry, though, which has actually defied any predictions of a slowdown or Airbnb bust in recent months. So they're stating the claim in the report that there's not an Airbnb bust coming. Okay. But let's take a look at their data. Let's see why they believe that. And here's a chart that you can grab down below in the daily download. The last day of the daily download link. So don't miss this chart. This is a great one if you're advising investors right now. Okay. So available listings going back to 2019, available listings on average for short-term rentals. This would be Airbnb, VRBO, whatever you want to call it. The average was 1.144 million in 2019. It was less in 2020, 1.019. A lot of people said, I'm going to go move into that place myself. Just over 1,036,000 in 2021. Now in 2022, that number has skyrocketed 24.6% last year. So you had a 24.6% jump from 21 to 22 in average listings. Over 1.25 million listings on average in 22. The forecast for 2023 is another jump of 14% year over year on average listings for short-term rentals, almost 1.5 million. 2024, another projection of year over year jump at 10.2%, almost 1.6 million available listings. That's the average. Okay. So the 2023 and 2024 forecast is saying inventory going way up on short-term rentals. The demand isn't going up as much though. Okay, so 2023, let's look at 2022's demand percent change year over year, 18.1% versus 24.6% in new listings. Okay, so there's a 6%, 6.5% gap from demand to new listings, nights listed, rather, for 2022. 10.4% to 14% when you go demand to nights listed 2023. 8.5% to 10.2% in 2024. That's the projections. Occupancy is dropping. 2022, you had 59.5%. 2023, 57.6% is the projection. 56.7% occupancy in 2024. Average daily rate, 321 is the projection for this year and 326 for next year. Occupancy at 50% on short-term rentals. I think a lot of these Airbnb people, investors, there's some that are crushing it, that are in the right community, that are renting out Airbnb at a much higher occupant rate than this. And then there are some that are just hitting this average, 50% of the time, it's rented. And I've heard I've been around investors of Airbnb and they're looking at their app. They're like, oh man, somebody wants the place tonight. I don't even know if it's cleaned. There's a lot of manual labor on this short-term rental investment. And some of them, I think, just think it's cool. And it would have been a lot easier for them to just rent it out on an annual lease as opposed to like 50% occupied. How many different tenants do you need to have throughout the year on that 56.7 occupant rate? Is that going to be, 40 different tenants in and out, cleaning, communications. Do you want to communicate with 40 or 50 tenants? I know it's light communication, or do you want to communicate with one? Um, I think there's some folks that bought Airbnbs in 2021, 2022 that are going to be over it by the end of 23 and into 24, and there's a lot more competition coming on. There's a projected to be a lot more available listings according to this report. And there's going to be some that just wave the white flag, and there's going to be an unlock of inventory in there. Now, that's another thing I'd be looking at as a real estate agent, is connecting with those Airbnb investors, the people that are managing those properties, and being ready to accept those listings. Because I do believe they're coming, and we go a lot deeper on that in today's Knowledge Broker podcast. So run over there, subscribe to that, check that out at 2 o'clock. I'll dig deeper into this short-term rental report. It just came out and I haven't had a chance to go. It's pretty long. Well, I'll link it up if you're interested in checking it out. But next week, I'm gonna pull a few things when we come back on Tuesday, because of course on Monday, the markets are closed. So the hot sheet will not be up in observation of Juneteenth. Let's take one last look at the 10-year here before we sign off for the week on the hot sheet. It's at 3748, so just up a tick here as we enter the day. Let me make sure that that's the refreshed number. It's actually 3774, so up a little bit more. And our 30-year fix yesterday ended at 6.94. We've been in a really tight range all week. We've been between 694 and 698 on Mortgage News Daily's 30-year fix daily survey. The Freddie Mac 30-year fixed weekly comes in at 6.69 for the last week. And hopefully we'll continue to see the daily reading as we close out this week under 7. It's kind of a psychological number, I know, but we're projected to move sideways here for the next 30 to 60 days. And hopefully sideways means at least between 6.5 and 6.9 and not up over 7. Appreciate you guys tuning in this week. It's been a big week here. We celebrated hot sheet number 100 earlier in the week. Did the live cold calls. Really appreciate all of you. Make sure you jump into BAMX, because starting next week, all of the daily download link will go away, and all of that will be living on BAMX, where you can get all of the sources, all of the charts, all in one place, not emailed every day. It's going to be just categorized on there for you. There's so much content on there. So if you like supporting BAMX is a great way to do that. So thank you guys. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Tuesday live at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific time. Till then, toodaloo.